All right, everyone, time to talk about the Dutch elections that happened shortly ago with FvD, the Forum for Democracy, would be, I guess, the equivalent English translation led by Baudet. I'm probably butchering the name, like it's probably Baudet or something like that. Over there in the Dutch elections, his party rocketing to prominence. I think now actually being the largest party seat-wise there. He's sort of like Wilders, only maybe less acerbic towards Islam and stuff. And so he's a populist, whereas Wilders is a little bit more nativistic. And this is sort of the twofold thing that you're getting in Europe. These Eurosceptic and or what you could call reformist parties that want to go away from the economic globalism, the free movement sort of thing, are coming in a variety of flavors. For instance, you have National Front in France, which I think has changed its name. They're not right-leaning. They simply happen to be nativistic. That's basically the nativistic and somewhat Eurosceptic in various forms. There's internal struggle in all of these parties with regards to what form that takes. A lot of them want to reform the EU and make it less powerful. That is, take it away from the post-national federation it tends to exist as seemingly now, and reform it to like something earlier, something that's more restricted, giving more national sovereignty. Now, of course, when that begins happening, it inevitably goes further because you don't appease everyone, the social alienation comes back, you end up eventually cracking the union apart if you have that sort of rhetoric going on. Only a civic togetherness or otherwise homogenization of the culture can save you. The problem is, what the European Union's bright fucking minds and leaders have done is actually attempt to decrease the homogenous nature of Europe. They've actually tried to do away with that, which is not going to work, especially with the rapidity with which they're doing it. And I'm not talking about, like, the ethno-nationalists make that argument. I'm not talking just about, ethnicity. It can be nationality. It's a post-national system that speaks like 20 languages. Economics. There's a huge difference between the economic situation of Eastern and Western Europe, and it doesn't work to have a single currency. It doesn't make any sense. One side always has to be subsidized, gets brain drain. It doesn't work. One group within Europe is like, well, free movement's the biggest sticking point. Look, some of the Western European nations, what's happened there? They've hit peak density. They're starting to falter. Their birth rates are dropping like a rock. So they're bringing in a bunch of people from elsewhere in the world in order to do like the labor jobs and shit like that, which they don't need to do. They could just have more kids. Denmark is the only one bright enough to have this suggestion so far. Apparently they pay people actually to have kids, I think, in Denmark. Which is a good idea. It's like it makes more sense than subsidizing people who you then have to train, to speak your language to bring them in. It doesn't, and who often don't even like your country, see you as enemies because you were part of some of these, NATO or Western-style coalitions that keep bombing the Middle East or whatever, making people miserable in other countries. What happens is that with the Schengen area, with free movement, Germany says, well, we need 1 million foreign workers. Our economy will start to crumble if we don't. But then those people gain access to Germany, they gain access to everywhere else in the European Union. So they might go off to Sweden, or they might go off to the Netherlands or Belgium or something like that. Germans can't do anything about it. They're like, oh yeah, come here, settle, and then a bunch of German townships resist too, and there's like violence and shit. The European Union has issues. And so some of these groups want to leave. I'm not sure whether this is one of the political parties that wants to outright leave, like Brexit style, or whether this is one of the parties that simply seeks to reform and then, if they can't get reform, wants to leave. Because again, you've got those two. You've got more impatient and less impatient political movements, but they're all growing. Pretty much every single one of the Eurosceptic and populistic movements in Europe is on the rise, especially within Western Europe. People think it's the Visegrad group is leading the charge. They're leading the charge in terms of being opposed to the kind of way the European Union operates, but not being opposed to the European Union. No, they love the EU. It subsidizes them. It helps them get development funding and stuff like that, which, by the way, long-term would be a problem too. What happens when all of those Eastern Europeans who can go and work in Western Europe no longer need to because their own economies are the ones that are growing the most swiftly in some cases? What happens when that manpower dries up? Then who will Germany turn to at that point? Or the UK, if it had remained in there as well, could be leaving in 2 weeks. Of course, it might be pie in the sky. It could be that they don't leave at all. We have to wait and see on that one. Populism now, leading the fray over there. I think Wilders people still have quite a bit of support, although some of it's been, exchanged for this newer movement. populism and nativism now becoming far more common. And this is the Netherlands thing. The Netherlands hasn't been racked by as many problems as some of the other countries with regards to the migrant crisis there. Some of the more tyrannical moves of the EU would favor a country that's, developed the way that the Netherlands has, as opposed to even like maybe a fully industrial economy like Germany. Or one like Sweden is more sparsely populated, a lot of outlands regions, a lot of natural resources, whereas the Netherlands is like a big chunk of that is tourism. Tourism and growing fucking flower bulbs and shit like that. It's a totally different economy from even some of its neighbors. By the way, if you look at like satellite pictures of the Netherlands, like during peak season when all the tulips and stuff are blossoming, it's actually pretty cool because there's like these stripes of color. So I wonder if aliens look at that and they're like, yeah, there's the stoner colony down there. Yeah, we know what they're smoking. I wonder how much of the weed they grow themselves. VA Shiva claims that half of the medical marijuana is grown in China while their own people can't even smoke it. I don't know. I don't have a source on that, but, considering how stupid our pharmaceutical system is, he's probably right. That's about all. Peace out.